For this episode of Basically Detectives, I'll be giving you guys my opinions and thoughts on Ken Kratz, and I'll be giving you guys an update on my approach to Season 2 of Making a Murderer. Okay, lambs. So, patreon.com/loveandmurder. Go to our website, murderandlove.com for the SOS system. Leave a comment under our episodes, please. We love it. Thank you. Anyway, back to business. So, now we're getting closer to the end of Season 1 of Making a Murderer. I wanted to take some time and tell you guys about how I feel in regards to Season 2 of the show, whether or not I'll be continuing into Season 2 of Making a Murderer, and I also wanted to take some time to tell you guys how I feel about Ken Kratz. So, in regards to Season 2, I will not be reacting to Season 2. Season 2, for me, felt like Netflix was just, and this is only my opinion, if you guys want to watch Season 2 and tell us all about how you feel, that's fine. But Season 2, for me, felt like Netflix was just kind of cashing in on the popularity of the case that came out of them being, that came out from the show being so popular. And I don't know, it seemed like Season 2 was kind of just a bunch of fluff. Kai and I had some discussions about whether or not, we should discuss episode 10 of the show, and we kind of decided not to do it, because episode 10 is really just, it's really just the family and their reactions to everything, and we're getting that all throughout the show right now as it is, so there's not really a point in us doing that. And Season 2 it's more of just that, but in the present day. And yes, there is a bit of a side story about this woman who, handled this notorious case back in the day. She now wants to attempt to help Steven, but I don't know. I feel like everything involved in Season 2 is just a reaction to Season 1. Even Ken Kratz, apparently, I say apparently even though I watched the show, but Ken Kratz shows up and he tries to kind of defend himself and debate the angle that the show took. He did not work with anybody in Season 1. He didn't work with the producers or anything like that. He didn't give any information. He didn't give any, interviews or anything like that to the producers or to Netflix while they were doing the special. He was not involved in, Season 1, aside from archival footage of him in court or news footage. So, the same goes for Season 2, if I remember correctly. He is shown in a clip on a talk show kind of defending his side of the story, but that's really all I have, and that's kind of what got me thinking about wanting to talk about him. We also had some comments on our YouTube channel talking about Ken Kratz that got me thinking, and I think it would do all of us some justice for me, one, to clarify, Season 2, we're not going to do, and Ken Kratz, here's what I think about it. So, moving on, I will have to say, I have some notes here about Ken Kratz. I gathered some stuff about his background, but in keeping with the themes of Basically Detectives, I don't have the whole story here with me, okay? If you guys want to research Ken Kratz yourself, please do so. I'm just going to use the points that I refer to when I tell people how I feel about him. So, there's more to his story than what I'm about to tell you, and I will tell you what is factual and what is my opinion, but if you decide to go out and research him yourself, please do so. Please tell us what you find, how you feel. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? All that is open for discussion. So, for those of you who are a little confused or not aware, Ken Kratz was the special prosecutor for Stephen Avery's case in regards to the murder of Teresa Halbach. So, Mr. Kratz, apparently, he graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater in 1983, and then he went on to graduate from Marquette Law School in 1985. 1985 is also when he got accepted to the bar. That's when he became a lawyer. According to Ken Kratz, what I read, his specialties were drug-related cases and cases regarding child sexual abuse. He got appointed as District Attorney, or DA for short, of Calumet County in 1992, and he apparently was the only applicant for that position. So, to me, that kind of sounds like he won by default, or was selected by default, but take of that what you will. He served as president of the Wisconsin District Attorneys Association in 1996. I also read that he chaired the Wisconsin Victim Rights Council in 1993, and he also chaired the successor, which was called the Wisconsin's Crime Victims' Rights Board, and he did that from 1998 to 2010. He had a pretty prominent case in 1997. Supposedly a woman had put her child in a cage. This woman put her daughter in a cage, and Kratz ended up getting her to plead guilty. So that was a big win for him. That was a big part of his life. So those are all the most interesting things about him to me that are factual. Again, if you guys want to go research it, basically Detectives isn't your end-all be-all for answers. Please go look into it yourself or continue watching the show. But the thing that really bothers me about him, and this is where I'm getting into kind of my opinion here, is he has such tunnel vision when it comes to Stephen Avery. You know, I understand that a prosecutor is supposed to prosecute, but the way that he pushes it forward, I almost feel like he has the same agenda that I suspect the sheriff's department of having. He's very aggressive in his attempts to, prosecute Stephen Avery. He's I don't like the air around the guy. He always seems real, prissy when he's giving interviews. He seems real, like prissy but robotic at the same time. Like, Teresa Halbach was brought into the room, and then she was stabbed by Stephen Avery, and then Stephen got his 16-year-old nephew. That's what he sounds like to me. I don't like how he carries himself. I don't like the dude's... I don't know how to describe it. I get a bad vibe off of him just listening to him talk, and even looking at him. And he's just... his approach to the case seems very, he's too trusting of the officers, and he's too... See, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get into spoiler territory in case you guys are watching episode by episode with us. So, the only thing I'll say is he pushes certain pieces of evidence really hard. Even when those pieces of evidence kind of sort of get a little invalidated, we'll say. Again, I'm not trying to spoil anything for people who don't know as much as I do, because I've watched the whole show, and I'm now rewatching it, so I've picked up things that I didn't pick up the first time. So, I don't want to spoil it or ruin it for anybody, so I'm going to keep it simple, but he tries to validate pieces of evidence beyond their own worth. I'll just say that. And he pushes it so much, all the time. He's relentless, and I think he himself believes that Stephen Avery has done what he did, but a small part of me also wonders if the corruption with the sheriff's office is that bad. I don't know of the relation between the district attorney's office and the sheriff's office. I'm not a legal expert or anything like that. But if the corruption runs that deep in the sheriff's department, what if it runs that deep with him as well? What if Ken Kratz is part of that corruption? And we'll get into in a minute some things that he has done that make me believe he might have that kind of personality where he would fall to corruption. But anyway, it's so... Again, I don't want to get into spoilers, but I can't really say a whole lot. But if I had to give you guys my flat-out opinion, I don't trust Ken Kratz. I don't agree with anything he's done or said. Has he made good points in the case? Sure. He's a special prosecutor. That's what he's supposed to do. But I don't like his approach. I don't like his personality. From what I've seen, I don't know the guy personally, but I don't like his personality. I don't like the way he approaches the case. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he carries himself. And at this point, I might as well just start getting into the things that I know about him that I'm going to share with you guys. So, the first thing I found out about Ken Kratz that I didn't really favor, was he did a case. I believe it was around 2010, he took on this case of a domestic abuse victim. She was being abused by her boyfriend. Well, he was prosecuting her boyfriend while he was also sending her sexually charged texts, requesting her to do sexual favors and wanting her to be in a sexual relationship with him. Mind you, this guy is a grown-ass man who's married, and she's a young college kid, so that's a little slimy right there if you ask me. But these texts were so bad, and they were so frequent, that the defendant was like, is he going to dismiss my case if I say no? So he got reported for that. I have some quotes here too. I know you guys love quotes. But the messages, and if you're listening with your kids, please don't let them listen to this. He said things like, quote, "Are you the kind of girl that likes secret contact with an older married elected DA? The riskier the better?" End quote. He also said things like, quote, "I would not expect you to be the other woman. I would want you to be so hot and treat me so well that you'd be the woman. Are you that good?" And another quote he said to her, or another message that he sent to her was, quote, "I'm serious. I'm the Addy," which I guess means attorney. "I had the $350,000 house. I have the six-figure career. You may be the tall, young, hot nymph, but I am the prize." End quote. And I should note, too, that after this whole thing came out and people were aware of what he was doing here, like, a dozen women came forward, and they were accusing him of, like, intimidating them sexually and harassing them sexually and intimidating them about, like, cases and stuff. There was a woman who complained that he supposedly, he, like, invited her to an autopsy of a woman who was killed, and the report went as far as to say, quote, "Provided I act as his girlfriend and would wear high heels and a skirt." He invited her to this autopsy as, like, kind of a date, I guess, which is weird. Who invites someone to an autopsy as a date? I don't know. But there's another woman who said that, he met her in his office, and afterwards he texted her asking, like, how impressive was she in bed? Again, this is all stuff that you guys can look at yourself. I'm not here to prove I did the research. I'm here to tell you guys what I found when I think of him. So please, go on your own, look up this guy, do some learning, learn yourself, So another one of these women, who apparently came forward, he prosecuted her in 2006, and the charge, I believe, was shoplifting. And according to a report, like an investigatory report, the woman said that in 2009, he called her out of nowhere and said that he was getting a divorce. He then came to her apartment and told her, in kind of a threatening demeanor, he's like, I know everything about you, and if you don't listen to me, you could get, quote-unquote, jammed up. Meaning he was going to, I guess, give authorities some vital piece of information about her that would get her in jail. Maybe that was the threat he was trying to give, but I don't know. I mean, the dude's just slime ball, obviously. That's all I can say. So, according to this report, this story that this woman came forward with, while he was at her apartment, he told her that he ties women up, he makes them listen to him, and then he gets kind of like a control kick out of it. And him sitting here at this woman's apartment, he said that he wanted to do bondage with her, which, alright dude, that's a little forward, but okay. She also said in her report that he instructed her to give him a blowjob, which she apparently did. And then he left her $75 on the kitchen counter, and then proceeded to call her, let's just say a lot of times. He proceeded to call and text her many times, and would get angry if she ignored him. So, yeah. Real stand-up guy, someone to look up to. I hope that when I grow up, I'm just like him, Fuck this guy. Like, I know, guys, look, I know I'm all over the place with this one, but he's just, I don't like this guy, okay? And this is why. And I might try to convince Kai to do a bonus episode about him so that we can go more into detail about his situation and who he is as a person. I might discuss that with her. We'll see how you guys respond to my thoughts and feelings here. But the dude is just so slimy and sleazy and And I don't know about you guys, but I've gotten vibes off of people where I'm like, I don't like the vibe this guy is throwing out. And then I found out later that guy was a creep. This is exactly what happened with Ken Kratz. I didn't like listening to him talk in the show. I didn't like seeing him on footage. I didn't like hearing that he was a part of the case. And then I found out this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. I was getting a vibe off of this guy from archival footage. That's how bad he is. How bad he is. But as always, guys, I hope that you will leave us your feedback. Tell us what you think. Be honest with us if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you had hoped that I would go more into the stuff that I found out. Again, that's not really what the show is for. Basically, Detectives is just me telling you how I feel about something, okay? I can't stress enough how much I want you guys to research this guy yourself and just see what I found. I can't do it justice here on Basically Detectives, okay? So please, go find it yourself. Tell us what you think down below in the comments or wherever else the comments are for you, depending on your platform. So for now, I'm going to go cool off. I'm going to go finish the next episodes, and I will see you guys next time.